counter-terrorism, trade, energy, digital cooperation and food security, cyber defense, artificial intelligence, and the formal membership of Belarus are also on the agenda. The summit runs from August 31st to September 1st, with over 20 world leaders and 10 international organizations expected to attend. Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev has said that the summit will shape the SCO's future, strengthening its role as a source of stability and deepening ties between China and Kazakhstan. Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, Maldives President Mohamed Muizzu, and Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet have already arrived in Tianjin. While ahead of the gathering, Chinese President Xi Jinping has met with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and senior CPC official Kai Qi have met Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, pledging deeper cooperation. This is the largest SCO summit ever, hosting leaders including Xi Jinping, India's Narendra Modi, Russia's Vladimir Putin, and other world leaders. Here's what some residents in Tianjin have said.
我们太兴奋了，感觉到是我们的骄傲和荣幸。我们天津人非常的感觉到幸福，能在我们这儿开，我们家乡开啊，我们感觉很骄傲，很自豪。
这个交通到现在呢，这块儿应该非常便利了，什么地铁、公交是吧？但是这几天呢，因为我们的上海这个峰会在我们天津开，所以相对比较重视这个交通。 但是呢，这个天津市政府呢规定了是31号跟1号这2天，就相对的一个。
Now this is significant as 20 leaders join, more than 20 leaders are joining the summit in Tianjin. There are 10 international organizations, including UN, is joining, and Belarus has been awaiting its more formal inclusion into this bloc. Now we are eyeing Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as Russian President Vladimir Putin, and Xi Jinping might have trilateral as well. And this is after 7 years. Xi Jinping is meeting with Prime Minister Modi in Chinese soil. So this is very significant, and it shows the gravity of this summit in Tianjin taking place from today. 20 world leaders, more than 20 world leaders, among them 10 are the member states. It includes India, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and China, of course. They are going to be all meeting in Tianjin. This organization has 10 full member countries: Belarus, China, India, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Belarus being the most recent country to become a full member, joining just in July. And also, President Xi Jinping will be taking bilateral talks with Putin, and this is the 7th time in this year that they are meeting. So in just 1 year, 7 times they've already met, and now they are meeting 7th time. This Russia and China's relationship has been close, but this SCO summit will have other countries also joining the bloc, and The Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit opens this week in Tianjin, focusing on regional security, counter-terrorism, trade, energy, digital cooperation, and food security. The 2025 Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit opens this week in Tianjin, focusing on regional security, counter-terrorism, trade, energy, digital cooperation, and food security, cyber defense, artificial intelligence, and the former membership of Belarus are also in this agenda. The summit runs from August 31st to September 1st, with over 20 world leaders and 10 international organizations expected to attend. Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev has said that the summit will shape the SCO's future, strengthening its role as a source of stability and deepening ties between China as well as Kazakhstan.
Hi, I am in Tianjin in China at the SCO summit. Joining me right now is Su Yutim. She is the CGTN anchor and she's come all the way from Beijing to be part of the SCO summit. Thank you, Su, for joining me.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your very special show. Thank you very much, Miga.
So I do want to understand from you, of course it is the 2025 SCO summit. What I am focusing on over here is, of course, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to China. He will be arriving later today in Tianjin. How do you see India-China relations growing in the future?
Well, you know that this is a very good question, because you know that this year marks the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and India. And we know that China and India are two very ancient civilizations with the long history of the friendly relations over the past 75 years. So it is very significant year today. And you know that you've mentioned Prime Minister from India, Narendra Modi, will visit here in Tianjin and also to attend the SCO summit here in Tianjin. And that is a very good opportunity to boost the bilateral relationship. And you mentioned that this is a very significant event, and we believe that this will be a good opportunity for the both sides to come together to forge ahead the bilateral relationship. And we know that a couple of weeks ago, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has visited New Delhi and held talks with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They met together, and that is a very fruitful meeting between the two sides, because they said China and India are not rivals, they are partners. That is a very significant signal sent by both sides. And they just said that the two sides will just implement the consensus reached by the two heads of state, the two leaders in the Kazan meeting last October. So we believe that within the SCO framework, SCO will provide a very important platform for both sides, not only India and China, but also the whole SCO big family together. You know that over the past 24 years since the establishment of the SCO in 2001, this organization has grown bigger with several rounds of expansion. The SCO now consists of 10 member states, 2 observer states, and 14 dialogue partners. So that is a big family. So not only we are talking about the bilateral relationship, but also the multilateral relationship. The leaders gathering together, they will talk about many issues, including the international issues and the regional issues together, covering a wide range of areas, including economy, energy, cultural, and people-to-people exchanges. So we are hopeful that lots of media, including you from NewsX from India and me from CGTN, will collaborate together to make this coverage more significant and very successful. And we're looking forward to the fruitful outcomes coming out from this upcoming summit.
Right, absolutely. You've succinctly put it how we envisage the SCO summit. I do also want to understand from you, what role does each of the SCO summit members play in the current state of global affairs, particularly when it comes to trade, comes to people connect and culture amongst the member nations of the SCO?
Well, this year we have lots of highlights, as you mentioned, not only the economy, trade, cultural people-to-people exchanges, and also many other areas will be covered, and lots of topics to be discussed. And you know that during this year's SCO summit, there will be lots of outcomes. One of them is the Tianjin Declaration, and also the leaders will also give us a very bright blueprint for the next few years. That is the strategic development plan for the next 10 years towards 2035. And you know that this SCO summit in Tianjin is also very significant because it coincides with the 80th anniversary of the victory of Chinese People's War of resistance against the Japanese aggression, and also the 80th anniversary of the victory of the World War II, and also the 80th anniversary of the United Nations funding. So that is very significant. The world is now calling for more peace and justice and fairness. And as the SCO member states, the observer states, and dialogue partners, and those countries far beyond Eurasia, China and India and many other countries are calling for the collective voices from the global south to help in the building of a shared community in the common destiny. That is very significant for the both countries, not only India and China, but also many other member states from the SCO members. They will come together to calling for the collective voices of the global south in the building of a community with a shared future for humanity. And lots of countries from the Belt and Road Initiative, that is the Silk Road Economic Belt and 21st Century Maritime Silk Road, as well, will gather together to boost the economy, trade, investment, people-to-people and cultural exchanges. So we're hopeful that there will be lots of outcomes coming out of this SCO Tianjin Summit.
Thank you. Thank you, Su Yuting, for joining me and talking to us on NewsX.
Thank you very much, Amiga Sharma from NewsX. Thank you very much indeed. We hope that you will enjoy this trip here in Tianjin and looking forward to seeing you next time in Beijing, our CGTN headquarters.
I look forward to it as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CGTN News anchor Su Yutin and my colleague and Senior Executive Editor Megha Sharma for joining us live from Tianjin. Now we move on to our guest discussion with Gilbert Doctorow. He's a Russian affairs expert, joins us live from Brussels. Thank you very much for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, President Xi is hosting a very high-profile SCO summit this year, including Russian President. What message do you think China is hoping to send to the global community through this gathering?
I think it is going to emphasize the consolidation, the growing consolidation of Eurasia and of the global South in an agenda for a multipolar world. The fact that Putin is going to China for the SCO is in response to the Chinese president's visit to Moscow for the 80th anniversary celebrations of the end of the War of Europe. So that is exactly a reflection of the preceding visit. Nonetheless, what we see here is an additional presence that is very important. The presence of India, of Mr. Modi, because in the past few weeks, India has found itself in a spat with the United States, which has reversed 25 years of American efforts to bring India into an anti-Chinese encirclement or coalition against China. That has now collapsed entirely, and I believe that these big three powers, China, Russia, and India, will be using time at the alongside the regular meetings of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and ahead of the parade in Beijing for the 80th anniversary to discuss precisely these crucial issues of how to respond to America's aggressive behavior,
Yes.
and how to defend themselves against the economic warfare.
Dr. Gilbert, we will be cutting to live in China, so please stay with us and thank you for joining us and sharing that insight again. Now, joining me now on the telecast is my colleague and senior executive editor, Megha Sharma, who is in Tianjin in China, bringing exclusive insights from the summit. Megha, what more can you tell us about this ongoing summit?
All right, so today is the eve of the SCO summit. The summit begins tomorrow. It's a two-day summit, as I already mentioned you. I'm here in Tianjin. In fact, I'm right now over here at Wanda Vista Hotel. Wanda Vista Hotel is the hotel where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be arriving from Japan, and he's out from Tokyo to Tianjin. He was scheduled to arrive at 6:40 p.m. local time, Beijing time, so which is going to be about this is going to be about 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time is when he arrives over here in Tianjin. After that, there are no engagements that the Prime Minister has. He is going to be welcomed by the Indian diaspora over here, who have also gathered in considerable numbers at the hotel premises to welcome the leader. But all the important meetings, bilaterals, and the welcoming of the heads of the states of the 10 member states and several other several observer states who are also participating in the summit takes place tomorrow. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, before the summit starts, is also going to hold a bilateral meeting with Xi Jinping, his Chinese counterpart, and the host of the SCO summit. And after that, of course, we are getting to know that the heads of the states from other parts of the world who are also participating in the summit have also started arriving in Tianjin. Key focus is, of course, going to be about what are the outcomes that will come from this two-day summit that takes place amongst all these leaders. Of course, regional security is of utmost importance. Countering terrorism is of significant importance. People-to-people connect, cultural ties, sustainability, but also when we talk about trade and economy have become the prime focus here, keeping in mind that there has been this massive uncertainty and upheaval that has been brought about by the US administration by way of the imposition of these humongous tariffs on countries, and thereby the countries like the ones who are participating in the SCO are also looking for greener pastures, for better markets for their produce to be exported, and also looking at markets, extractive markets, where they can import goods at a cheaper rate. So these are the key highlights of what we will be focusing on in the coming 2 days.
Thank you very much, Megha Sharma, for bringing exclusive insights from the summit. And on the ground, thank you very much. Now we move on. But as these diplomatic exchanges unfold, Ukraine is hit by fresh violence. Overnight, Russia carried out what officials called a massive strike on Zaporizhzhia, killing at least 1 person and wounding 24, including 2 children. Homes, cafes, and industrial sites were destroyed. Ukraine's central Dnipropetrovsk region also came under heavy attack, with explosions in Dnipro and Pavlograd. Authorities have confirmed Russian troops have now entered the region, marking a dangerous escalation in this area previously sparked from fighting. Speaking at the UN Security Council, Ukrainian Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko has condemned the attacks, declaring Russia continues to choose killing over ending the war. Let's listen in.
These killings are deliberate acts of terror. It's an informed decision taken by Moscow to continue its systematic campaign to terrorize civilians and extinguish any semblance of normal life. Yesterday, Russia again responded brutally to our attempts to engage them in a civilized dialogue in the language of international law, peace, and respect for human life. Russia continues to choose killing over ending the war. Still hope that this Council and its member states, who have consistently emphasized the need for cessation of the hostilities, will now show the courage to turn word into action by supporting a relevant solution on the matter.
So as leaders converge in Tianjin, the human toll of the war deepens, emphasizing the stark divide between diplomacy and devastation on the ground. Now for this discussion, we're joined by Gilbert Doktorov. He's a Russian affairs expert, joins us live from Brussels. Thank you very much for staying with us and joining us again. Now, with leaders meeting under the SCO framework, how realistic is it to expect that diplomatic summits can influence the course of the current Russia-Ukraine war?
Well, it has already been made clear that a subject for discussion between Presidents Putin and Xi when they meet ahead of the parade in Beijing will be precisely the war in Ukraine. Of course, there are other issues, very important issues, that they will be discussing, such as the decision of the big three in Europe, the UK, France, and Germany, to use the provisions for reimposing sanctions on Iran, and the president of Iran will be there. There are many subjects that are topical and important. I could say that Mr. Trump has done his best to provide the key members of the SCO meeting and of the celebrants of the end of the war in the Pacific with talk and the possibility to address and define a common policy on these very issues. I also want to mention something that your viewers may not be expecting. It is possible that the meetings in China will have a very big surprise, a rabbit pulled out of the hat. And that is to say, the Russian media are still considering that Mr. Trump may show up in Beijing for the parade. That is not to be excluded. I'd like to emphasize that this disruption, this disorder, which you in India are feeling particularly over the tariff war, is not arbitrary and is not without a foundation. The foundation is Mr. Trump's hidden agenda to disrupt entirely the existing world order of American hegemony and to prepare the way for a multipolar world. However strange that may appear from his words, my insistence is to ignore his words and follow his actions. That he has applied these tariffs just ahead on India, just ahead of this important meeting, is not an accident. It is intentional, and it is to get your presidents talking about how to deal with the United States.
Yes, and that is very interesting that you've mentioned that a surprise guest might show up, hinting to U.S. President Donald Trump. If we can only speculate here, but if he were to show up, do you think that this can shift the narrative at the ongoing diplomatic talks in Tianjin, and maybe we might see any breakthrough? What do you think?
Well, Mr. Trump has said recently in the last 2 weeks how much he would like to meet with Mr. Kim, how much he would like to meet with President Xi. They're both in Beijing for this parade, and so it would be very convenient for him to be there. The European leaders, aside from Mr. Vučić in Serbia and Mr. Fico in Slovakia, the EU 25 hardliners have all declined to accept the invitation. And it would be remarkable if, and in keeping with his policies, if Mr. Trump were to show up. I can't say that will happen, but there is a possibility that the Russians have detected and are publishing in very serious periodicals and online assets. So Mr. Trump has destroyed what 25 years of American diplomacy have tried to do by enlisting India in a quadrilateral arrangement of countries encircling and opposing China. He has destroyed that in a few weeks. That is the real outcome of his tariff policy. The tariffs are nonsense compared to that geopolitical act, which I insist was not an accident, was not something that he missed, but it's something that he intentionally brought about. So I think India also should rethink what Mr. Trump is doing. It is not what it appears to be.
And now thank you very much for sharing that. And now looking back at Ukraine and its allies, do you think there is any fatigue from the allies in Europe for Ukraine? Do you think that could eventually impact the level of military and financial aid that's flowing now from the West?
I would disagree with your generalization. Ukraine has no allies in Europe. It only has destroyers in Europe. What Europe is doing is to fight Russia to the last Ukrainian. That is not a friend or ally of Ukraine. And that has to be made clear because we are living in a world of Orwellian double talk, where peace is war and war is peace. Think for yourselves and understand that Europe is no friend of Ukraine.
Right. Thank you very much for bringing us fresh perspective and always sharing good insights from Brussels. That was Gilbert Doctorow. This is all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more news updates from around the world and the SCO Summit.